Welcome back to Java Programming for Beginners, and today I want to tell you guys how to get input from the console. That way our programs can start being more like programs and less like hard-coded things that do the same thing every time. So right now I'm in the loops project looking at the main class that we made in the last tutorial. And I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of what we were working on before, because we're going to do something a little bit different. And if you remember back a few tutorials ago when we were talking about objects, I did not mention to you that Java provides like an entire library of classes to you for things that you would use in everyday programs. And one of those classes is called the scanner class. And in order to read input from the console, that's what we're going to use. So we're going to say scanner. Now, the scanner class is not imported by default. And a lot of the classes that we have used so far for output are provided to you by default. So in order to tell Java that we're going to use the scanner, you need to go up to the top of your file and say import. It does help to spell it correctly. Import java.util.scanner. And then I'm going to hit save. Still giving me an error, but that's because it's an incomplete statement. So we're going to say scanner, and to make it really easy to read, we're just going to call it read equals new scanner. And as a parameter, we need to give this a input stream source. And I can't really get and describe to you guys what this is at the moment. So you're just going to have to stick with me. And we're going to say system.in. And then semicolon. Then what you need to know is when every time that you use a scanner, you open a scanner object. And before the program closes, you're going to want to make sure you close the scanner object. Because again, it's one of those things that you really need to do, or else your program is going to be running things after it's shut down. So you want to make sure you say read.close. But we're not going to write anything after read.close. So now we're going to use a while loop, since we talked about how to use those in the last tutorial. And we're going to use a method called read.hasNext. And this is going to return true if the scanner has a token, has another token left. And we'll talk more about tokens later, but I think you'll understand what it is once we get the program running. So for every time that read has a token, we're going to take a string, and let's just call it inputs, equals read.get, well not get, read.next, which returns a string from our scanner and stores it into our input variable. And the string that it returns from the scanner is called a token, which again we'll talk about in a little bit. So next, I think we should have some sort of output. That way we know it's working. So I'm just going to say system.out.println, and then we're just going to print out the input. So let's go ahead and run. And you might be thinking, well, it's not doing anything. That's because we don't have our console open. So if you might have your console open down here, there will be a little white kind of text box area. But if it's not, look over on your sidebar and look for this little blue screen thing and click on this, and this is what your console looks like. If your program's running, there'll be a little red square right here. And so I'm just going to type hello world into my console, and then my program prints hello world back. Now this is when we start talking about tokens, because a token is a word, kind of. A token is a string of characters that doesn't have a space in it. So this is the first token that our read object is going to take, and then it's going to print it out here. And then this is our second token, and so it's going to print it out on the next line. And our program's not over. We could keep typing, and it would keep doing this, but right now we don't really have a way to end the program, which is really bad because that means you have to go hit this terminate button, and our scanner object isn't technically closed, although Eclipse will close it for you. So let's give ourselves a way to close our program. And what we need to do that is, right now this is an infinite loop. And even though it doesn't look like one, the scanner, when you're working with the console and the scanner, there is always going to be another token. So this actually is a infinite loop. So we're going to go up here and we're going to create a Boolean called running. And we'll say true. And this is going to represent whether or not our program is running. And then I'm going to show you guys something that I haven't shown you yet, which I probably should have. And I'm going to say running equals true, and then 2 ampersands with a space. Now you can use, there are 2 types of operators that work like this. There's the double ampersand, and then there's these straight lines right here. They're normally right above your shift key. And what the double ampersand means is, it means if it's running as true and read.has next, then we're going to execute this code. But if this is false or this is false, we're not going to do anything. And this actually works with if statements too. So this is not just for while loops, it's for any kind of if statement or Boolean. And then there's also the straight lines, which means or. So if this is true or this is true. And I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. I might go more into detail later about it, but for our purposes, we want it to say and. And then instead of just printing out our input, we're going to say if input dot equals, well, let's just say input equals, and then we'll put exit. And if it's equal to exit, then we're going to say running equals false. And then we'll make our else statement, and we'll put our output under the else statement. And let's hit run. And remember, we have to open up our console to be able to access it. So we'll say hello world, or I spelled it incorrectly, but who cares? You know, and it looks like it works the same way. But now if I type exit, the program terminates. Oh wait, hold on. The program didn't terminate. That's interesting. Because we set running equal to false. You know why? Because this is a very bad way to compare a string to another string. And I thought I could get away with it, but I was wrong. And there could be a space in the token. There might be a space in the token. I mean, you just can't really compare strings this way. You can get away with it occasionally, but it's not good. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use a method from the string class. So we're going to say input dot equals ignore case, and then we'll type exit into the parameter as a string, and then that will actually work. Because this method is going to check and make sure that even if it's going to like trim down the string, it's going to make sure all the letters are lowercase. That way it doesn't really matter if a letter is uppercase. And so now if we hit run, and then remember we got to open up our console. I keep forgetting for some reason. And then we're going to say exit. And it's still not working. Huh. Why would it not work? You know why? If you go up here in our while loop, we say running equals true. Well, when you use a single equal sign, you are taking the value true and you're assigning it to a variable. But what we actually want to do is compare running to true. We don't want to set it equal to true. So make sure when you're comparing variables that you always use two equal signs, not a single equal sign. Because you'll always run into errors like that, and I'm kind of mad that I made that one. So now let's test, and then let's type exit, and as you can tell, the program terminated. It says terminated, and the little red box is gone. So that's how you accept input, and you can analyze the input by comparing it with another string, or a lot of times you can convert a string into a different data type, which I should definitely go over in a later video, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. So thanks guys for watching, and remember, if you want to see any more of my videos, make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below. And then if you have any questions, there is not a stupid question. I mean, you guys are just starting out programming. There's no stupid questions, and I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.